Hello YouTube, welcome back to a brand new video. My name is Kevin and this is the Red Pilling channel. So I want to discuss a little bit, how can Republicans counter the Democrats to avoid more Mamdanis? The best chance we have of possibly doing that. Because, and this is why I'm more isolationist on foreign policy, because I feel like, well, I like some of the stuff Trump's doing foreign policy-wise, and they are America first. I did talk about that in my last video, about the imperialism stuff, on the empire stuff, about how it is an American interest, but if we're not focused on domestic too, communists are going to lure in and sweep up the next generation, and Trump did well with them, but with the generation that's really desperate for the American dream and have been kind of robbed, that feel robbed, and we're focused on foreign all the time, which I have to say, foreign has been dominant. I kind of see the point of, and why we need to be, I guess, we need to, I guess, keep that in mind. So, and that's why I think for Minnesota to restore law and order, which is why I think while Iran falling is great and all, and it is good for America foreignly because it means less worrying about terrorism and stuff like that. What's happening in Minneapolis, Minnesota, is more important because it's our hemisphere, it's our country, it's our, yeah. And so that needs to be first, and I really think Trump needs to call the Insurrection Act. Sorry, but Republicans need to use power, and Trump needs to use power. And I've heard stuff that he is considering it. I think it always has to go with the timing. So if Trump does it, it's not if, it's when he does it, because he actually is legally able to authorize that if it's really needed, but he needs it to restore order in regards to the crimes, but also elections, because we cannot go into 2026 with compromised elections. And that may be another reason why Venezuela was a good idea, because a lot of the voting machines that were used were made in Venezuela, and Maduro was not a legitimate leader, and they used those machines that altered the election. So if that's the case, we have a real problem here, and that warrants having to use, like, I think insurrection's almost like partial martial law. It's essentially sending the military to oversee the elections and get these criminals off the cities and restore order. We cannot have a functioning republic until we have order and that Americans can trust that our elections are fairly. Sorry, I don't care if that makes Trump a dictator. Sometimes I wish Trump was everything the left accused him of, sometimes. Hate to say it, but Trump, we have to use power to take back our country, and we have to restore order, and we can't have it with these leftists, these big money, what we have going in Minneapolis, these staged, these insurrectionists, these anarchists. We cannot have that, and we cannot have elections that are compromised, foreign or domestic. We cannot have that. So yes, we have to focus on this country too. So how do we prevent, here's an example. How do we prevent Gen Z from potentially going communist, falling for more Mamdanis? And you have to wonder, I'm not defending Mamadani at all, But I'm looking at optics because politics is a game of optics. I think when it all said and done, Mamdani's gonna end up being Mamdani is not going to get anything done anyways. I think a lot of Democrats aren't even going to go for that. The progressive populists end up becoming the establishment, especially after. So I think the left that thought he was going to bring them a utopia is going to be really surprised. So, but either way, Mamdani was a smart politician that ran for mayor, and I don't think he's really New York first at all, but he knew what to say. And for example, there was in the debate they were at all the candidates like Cuomo and I forgot the other candidate's name already, but he also was a third party, and Mamdani. All of them were asked in a debate question. If you were to, instead of asking domestic issues, the question was asked if you could visit any other country, what would it be? Well, I think you kind of know what country they would say. It starts with an I. Well, just Israel. Yeah. But when Mamdani was asked, he says, I just want to focus on New York City. We knew he was lying. We knew he knew what to say, but that was the smart answer. And that has to be the message for Republicans, but ones that actually mean it going forward if we're going to win. Now, yes, we can't, more isolation, but we can't be fully, it's just not possible. We have to have, potential. We have to have some impact with the world, but, some involvement, but, like what Trump's doing with Venezuela, that's in our interests, so good. But we have to focus here. And you can't have candidates running like incompetent campaigns worrying about another country like Ukraine or Israel or blah, blah, blah. I hate to say it, or Gaza and whatever. I'm going to say this. A lot of Americans really don't care. Even Iran, if you really think about some Trump's key base, they really don't care that much about Iran or Israel. I think the whole Israel-Gaza divide is really manufactured and it's done by bots online. I don't really think it's all organic. I don't think Americans really care. I don't even think the Gen Z right is even that anti-Israel. They just don't want us to be, involved in every conflict. And a lot of time, and they don't like this messaging that they're uncomfortable with this favorite child relationship we have with Israel. And I think that's fair. I think it's not anti-Semitic or unreasonable. But we need that answer. I want to focus on America to help create solutions to help make American lives. And Mamdani ran on that message, and I think he won. And I think he's picked up steam a little bit, but it wasn't enough. And honestly, the reason he won was largely because of Gen Z women. Gen Z women overwhelmingly voted for Mamdani. A lot of them were single, and hate to say it, the men didn't really vote. I don't know if that would have changed much in this case because it is in New York, but it didn't really change that much. And that's a problem, okay? If men do not vote, women will decide the election. I hate to say it, these women will. And the most likely people to vote in every election are oftentimes older voters and educated voters. A lot of women are more educated. I think women have more degrees, and they vote. And that's what will happen if the men that say they care about America don't come out to vote. So we need to, but here's the thing. Why would they, though? When you have people like Cuomo, it's like, Cuomo or Mamdani. Well, The rational would have been Cuomo, but people are sick of having to pick the two evils all the time. And that's the problem. What will keep happening if the Republican Party doesn't evolve, and what I'm seeing with the GOP that's not Trump, what I see happening when Trump's gone, maybe Vance could win, but people other than outside of him, I don't know. We don't even know if Vance can yet because he has to run in his own message, his own campaign, and we don't know yet. So how can we do this? And how can we give Republicans a better shot going forward? Here's one. The housing. I think Crowder is the one who proposed this, and I'm wondering if maybe Trump saw this and is considering that. But Steven Crowder proposed, solution on housing affordability crisis. The biggest problem is migrants are buying houses. Illegal migrants, and these investors like BlackRock and Vanguard and stuff, they're buying single family homes and renting them out, which is skyrocketing prices all over the country, here in Wisconsin and everywhere else. So it's a problem. So what are the solutions? Banning illegals from buying homes only allows citizens and legal permanent residents, DOI. And these housing firms and stuff, they love what's happening. They love illegals coming in. They're getting rich off of it. And it's screwing over young people. Young people can't buy a home. So the next is severe penalties for selling or renting to any illegals. Ban the purchase of single-family homes by institutional investors. I think that's like BlackRock. Legal migrants require at least a two-year renting period after arrival in America. Incentivize starter home construction with tax breaks, and give first-time home buyers a tax write-off for their first year, whatever you pay in your mortgage. That's now a write-off. Okay, those are good solutions. That's constructive populism. That's how you make changes to doing stuff. And with this current system, I don't think the free market can do that on your own. And that would also be, that's removing these bad regulations that has happened to have this happen. And that will reduce the housing prices, interest rates, and that will come together. That's how we do these things. Do that. That's what Trump needs to do. And Trump has promoted that. In fact, there's two things he's promoted so far. He said something about banning illegals from buying single-family homes, and also the whole banning the institutional investors like BlackRock and Vanguard from doing that. So it sounds like he's heading into the direction that Steven Crowder has promoted. He also promoted a thing called Donald Trump ordered the government to purchase of $200 billion in mortgage bonds. He said this could lower the price and interest rate of buying a home for the average American. So Trump definitely does listen, and I feel bad because a lot of the rhinos in office don't care about the American people either, and that's the problem. So Trump is definitely listening. He had a terrible take on that whole, thing with 50-year mortgage loan thing. I think that has sailed. He's not doing that. I don't know who gave him the idea to come up with that, but I'm glad that's not happening. But what Trump is proposing here, that's constructive populism. Another one that's important that people need to understand is the Donald Trump on interest rates. Hold on. He said, and this was a campaign actually he mentioned, please be informed that we will no longer let American public be ripped off by the credit card companies that are changing interest rates of 20 to 30% and even more, which festered unimpeded during Sleepy Joe Biden administration. Affordability, effective January. Okay, okay. As president, I am calling for a 1-year cap credit interest rates of 10% conditionally. The January, okay, January 20th will concede with the 1-year anniversary of the historic and very successful Trump. Okay, so it sounds like it's actually only temporary, but it will help Americans kind of catch up on their bills. But that's called populism, okay? Personally, I think, I don't know. He says, I don't know, but that's how we do things. So Trump doesn't seem to be a fan of usury, and I'm not for usury either. I think it's debt slavery, what they're doing to these people, and it's immoral. So some people are not agreeing with that either. They don't think that's, some of the really hard on, free market and the whole, fiscal right. They're not like, no, government shouldn't be, well, hate to say it, but our system's screwed up. And to me, to fix it, it may take a little bit of government intervention to have some regulation. So to help America evolve more into that fixed system. So I don't know. Sometimes extreme circumstances require extreme measures, as they say. So I don't know. It's not really about what you like or dislike. It's more about what's good for America. And let's be honest, I'm for it because I've been screwed over on interest. Me, especially young people. We young people have been screwed. All we know is debt. Thankfully, I'm not in huge debts, mostly my house, but still, that's a lot. Still a lot, and so I think it's good. I think it's a win for young people for sure, for the future generation. So, what does this mean, and how do we go from here? And so far, I think Trump has only proposed it. Okay. And for example, here, going back to credit card, look at what's going to happen, okay? Did you know right now there's an annual 160% annual interest, and the cheapest is 40% interest. That's how crazy interest rate that credit card companies are doing. And that's these hedge funds and stuff like that. That's screwing over Americans. And if we do not take care of this soon, and Congress does not act to codify all this, communism's coming to America. Sorry. If not, tell me how. How can we prevent that then? If these solutions aren't the solution, how do we prevent? Yes, deregulation also is needed. There's a lot of things that are needed to go together. So I get it, but this is the start for now to get us there. So because so Trump's listening. I like that he's listening, but Congress has got to act. They got to get their act together. And I don't know what's going to take. Do they have to nuke the filibuster to do it? I don't know. But I think the establishment on the GOP... Here's the thing. I hate the left, but we already know that. But the Republicans are the ones in charge right now. And they're not doing anything to help Trump get things done. And to me right now, they're kind of our own worst enemy right now because they're beholden to power too. And just like they want to keep power for themselves, and all these things that Trump wants to do for Americans, well, guess what? They're owned by these special interest donors who want these things to keep happening. So this will not end well for us if not going forward. And it will pave the road for more Mamadanis. And this is more so older people get it, because I don't think they get it. All we do is doom and gloom about how communism's coming. Well, I don't like communism either. I don't want it to come, but that's what we're going to get if we don't start providing these solutions like this that Trump's proposing. This is the only way we're going to defeat, and only way we can maybe get some of the Gen Z people more on our side. That's how we get the males to vote, particularly because the males love, at least Gen Z males love this. And I think even women Even though they're more leftist, unfortunately, even some women you might peel off with policies like this. At least some of them. It's better than zero. So you'll definitely get more than what you've been getting if you promote these things. So I don't know. This is, if Trump, if this is how we beat, because here's the thing, if we can't win elections just focusing on foreign policy, that's why these domestic policies, that's why Congress needs to act now before Gavin Newsom comes in and tries to fool everybody. Because a lot of Americans have short memories, and if we're not careful, they'll underestimate it. That's all I'm saying. So I don't know. Anyway, so that's all I have for today on this. But let me know what you all think. What is the solution to beating communists? Unfortunately, young people don't know history either. That's the problem. They haven't been taught well by parents on how to be financially responsible. There's a lot of problems you could say about Gen Z, whatever. It doesn't matter. They're still the future, and it still doesn't excuse what has been happening that has prevented them from able to do things. Because it's what other generations have been able to do this. I mean, we've all made bad financial decisions. We've all done wrong things, but that still doesn't justify Congress not making some of these changes as well. So, again, that's all I have. So, again, if you like this video, again, let me know on the bottom down below. Let me know what you think. If you also like this channel, please subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. The Red Pilling channel, out.